if you would take a seat, and somebody will bring you a bottle of water
I've got
after
a
a little
glass
bit.
here. We'll get
You're all set? Okay. Okay, we're going to start by allowing you 3 minutes approximately to just give us a little introduction. Now, we've already had a couple of introductions to you, but this particular session is on television, and there are people out there watching. So we'd love to hear from you again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Ed Mitchell. I'm the City Administrator in West Palm Beach. I have 25 years of local government experience. West Palm Beach has about 1,400 employees. About 90% of our workforce is unionized. We have 2 CRAs. Our budget is about $500 million. Our daytime population is about 300,000. Our full-time residents are about 110,000. Again, I've helped the city through some budget shortfalls the last couple of years. In my 12 years as City Administrator, we've had major economic development. Again, I think I bring a skill set here that can serve the citizens of Sarasota and the County Commission.
Okay, that was quick. Thank you. All right, so we all have questions, and this time we're going to start in the other direction. We're going to start with Commissioner Robinson.
We talked a little bit in our one-on-one interview about business climate and about the report that came out, which was not the most flattering for the county about the way businesses view the county. In light of the economic situation, in light of procurement and our procurement issues, in light of a whole lot of things, what would you do to enhance the business climate in Sarasota County and keep that line of, how would you communicate with the local businesses to understand where they're at in this with business climate, because you're somewhat removed from the day-to-day contact with businesses?
I think you have to have trust and credibility, and people have to feel there's a fair shake when you put a project out to bid, when you put an RFP out to bid. Any company that puts the time and effort to put that response together has to feel that they're getting a fair shake when it goes in, whether it's reviewed by the County Commission or reviewed by staff. Again, I think credibility and trust are the foundation when you have a procurement process. Nobody's written the specs a certain way, which gears it towards a certain company, or nobody's put on a committee who has a favoritism towards the company. I think in the bidding process, openness and fairness is the best way to be. And again, you can't always control who's on a committee or who knows who, but I think up front, if you declare conflicts of interest and have people step out of a process early enough who have had contact with a particular vendor or know someone who's a subcontractor to a vendor, it can certainly clear up problems later on.
Do you want to clarify your question?
Yeah. Can you talk about it a little bit outside the procurement? I'm talking about all sorts of reasons why businesses would come into contact with county government, from permitting to site and development. Just how would you monitor that, and how would you improve that?
And in West Palm Beach, we talk about touches. How many times a permit has to be touched before it goes out the door? In West Palm Beach, I've combined the Planning and Zoning Department with the Construction Services Department and Code Enforcement Department. So all the departments that basically do development services are under one roof. We've done unique things like cross-certified inspectors. So you'll have an inspector who's certified in electrical inspections and possibly plumbing or mechanical inspections. So when they go to a work site, they can do 2 inspections and not have a contractor doesn't have to wait for one inspector to come at 1 o'clock and one inspector to come at 3 o'clock. I think the quickest way to get a permit is to streamline the process. Make sure the process moves quickly. In development, time is money. I think the less touches you have and the more input you have in a development order, the quicker it gets issued and the quicker economic development takes place. Businesses want to open, businesses want to make money, and it improves your tax base. It helps, again, supplement your tax revenues when your businesses are open and people are working.
Okay. Commissioner Thaxton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ed, great to see you again. Presently, you're serving as the City Administrator in West Palm Beach, and I think most of us have visited West Palm Beach and are somewhat familiar with its demographics and the lay of the land over there. One of the things that I would like for you to address is your transition from a city administrator to a county administrator. Granted, there's a lot of things that Sarasota County does that are very much city-like, such as our law enforcement, our fire protection, but Sarasota County still has a great deal of agriculture, a great deal of rural landscapes, and I don't really know what your experience is in dealing with balancing those two interests, which are often mutual, but sometimes they're not. And it would be very important to me to know that the person that we hire for this job has some background and some experiencing in protecting the rural nature of a rural county while still having a vibrant urban core.
I think people choose to live where they want to live because they want a certain lifestyle and quality of life. Certain people choose to live in urban areas and counties. Other people choose to live in agricultural or more suburban areas, and then some very rural areas in county. And your county is very diverse. You have a lot of land, a lot of open space. And again, I think as county administrator, you have to balance, and the county commission, you have to balance those needs of the residents throughout the area. Again, your South County is different than your North County. It's different than your coastal communities. I think, again, everybody has to have a voice, and people are going to move or stay where they are for particular reasons. I know your zoning regulations are different. Your code enforcement is certainly different in certain areas of the county. From that standpoint, I think it's again, a balancing act. But from my standpoint, I think in the administrator's job is leadership. From time to time, I talk about putting the four corners of the room, trying to get them all centered. So try to get those different and diverse attitudes and approaches to problem solving to kind of come to a common agreement and get the four corners to the middle of the room. So I think there's a place for everybody, obviously, in the room to talk about issues and discuss problem solving, discuss the issues that affect them in their quality of life in their communities.
Mr. Mason?
As it relates to the procurement scandal, I'm concerned about employee morale.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you deal with it?
Well, being brand new to the organization, I have to gain the trust and earn the respect of the employees. I think that's first and foremost. If the employees don't trust me and don't have respect for me, I don't think it's going to be. I will be successful here. It's going to be difficult, again, being from the outside. But in West Palm Beach, one of the things I've done is work days. I've gone out and put on a pair of steel-toed boots and gone side by side with the Parks and Recreation crew as they've cut grass, with the concrete crew as they've poured concrete curbs and sidewalks. Been in the bucket truck with the lighting crew, street lighting crew. Did a 24-hour shift with the fire department and EMS truck, 11.5-hour shift as a ride around with the police department. I think getting out, meeting the employees, working side by side, letting them know that I care and knowing that I'm here with an open door policy to have them come talk to me with any issues and problems they have. Another thing is we've bought movie code tickets. If I get a letter from a commissioner or a letter from a resident that thanks an employee for a job well done, I take that letter, turn it around, do a thank you letter, and put attached movie code tickets to that employee. Or sometimes I might walk down to that particular workspace and hand out the tickets. Again, I think if you can show people that you care and show people that you have an interest in them, I think they're going to work hard for you. I've got employees in West Palm Beach that will lay down in traffic for me and get things done. I hope to have that same attitude here. And again, it's not. I don't think people respect the title; they respect the person. Regardless of the title you have, if you don't have the respect of the people, they're not going to respect you back.
Okay. Commissioner Barbetta.
Sure. Thank you. Ed, we're known for our arts and culture, great beaches, great parks, and environmental land. But the primary issue right now facing the community and pretty much all through Florida are jobs in the economy. And while government doesn't really create jobs, we do our best to try to facilitate an environment that helps do that. What would be some of the things you do along those lines to work with the board?
I think to work with the board on what the industry you'd like to attract is. You have a lot of vacant land, and I've been driving down 75. Your interstate has basically land on each side. I think is you can attract companies which are clean companies that can bring white-collar and blue-collar jobs to the area. And I said this in one of the community forums, I think from a generation standpoint, you want jobs to have your children and your grandchildren come back and live in the community in which you've governed. I think to have a facilitation with the business community and see which industries are interested, and you have a very educated workforce here. I think you have a strong school system to support bringing jobs here. You want those jobs not to go to Atlanta, not to go to Orlando. You want those jobs to stay in Sarasota County. So I think in working with the business community, come up to a plan. And I'll tell you, the companies, while they're not going to come to you, you have to go to them. If you have to get on a plane and fly to a headquarters and entice that company to come, I think with your, as you said, Commissioner, your beaches, your resources, your arts, you have the right amenities to bring companies to this community. I think there's no reason why you can't put together an economic plan with possibly some incentives that can incentivize the right companies to come here and support your endeavors. Because what you have, I think, attracts good people and good CEOs. I would guess to venture there's probably CEOs that live in the community that you could probably start right off the bat with and encourage them to bring their industries here.
Thank you.
Okay. We've suffered quite a hit in this last recession. I would assume that West Palm Beach is not hugely different, although you have some ambitious capital projects that apparently you've proceeded with, but they may have originated during boom times. We've seen about a 38% reduction in our ad valorem. Our sales tax is not doing hugely better, and that's caused us to have to use some fund balances that we actually put away, knowing that there'd be an economic downturn, just not anticipating it being as rough as it has been. So when we project into the future, we look at potential problems. Can you talk to us about your own management style and what you've done in West Palm Beach to make sure that your city won't be up against that type of wall? And my research has shown your own millage is very high already.
We've had a high millage for a number of years, and we have not been immune, I guess, to what other Florida cities have been going through with financial crisis and shrinking tax base. We financially forecast in the best we can through all of our revenues and our expenditures where we think we're going to be in 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years out. With that forecast, and we go back and I'm going to ask departments to make cuts, because obviously as our revenues are going down, your expenditures have to equal your revenues. Certain things like pension costs, health insurance, those are going to go up every year regardless of what you do. We've worked with the departments, again, to try to control their expenditures. We've had some consolidation of departments this year. Again, we've taken code enforcement, planning and zoning, and building, put them under one roof. We've combined engineering and public works as one department. The best we can, we've offered voluntary separation programs for the employees to take advantage of, which is probably taken about 130 or 40 jobs, and when those employees separate, we don't fill the vacancies. Through attrition and retirements, we haven't filled jobs. We used to have about 1,800 employees in the city. We currently have about 1,400. One of the programs we looked at and decided to adopt was an employee clinic. We now have 3,000 employees and dependents eligible to go to the clinic rather than go to the health care provider, again, to save money. So I think you got to find innovative and different ways to basically solve your financial crisis. It's probably going to be a smaller government than it used to be, like most of the governments in Florida. I think you still have to provide the services, and we have not, I don't think, cut anything in West Palm Beach that's been noticed by the citizens in West Palm Beach over the last 3 or 4 years.
Thank you. Commissioner Barbetta.
Sure. Thank you. In our county, we have 3 cities and 1 town. And I believe in Palm Beach County, you're the largest city and the county seat. Is that correct?
Correct.
How do you interact how would you be able to take what you do in interacting with your county government over there and flip it and acting as a county administrator here, interact with our city governments?
With the cities in Sarasota County, I'm, I'd say, close friends with John Lewis. I know Mr. Bartolotta very well. I know David Bullock a little bit. I know Venice is currently looking for a city manager. I believe just extending myself and having communications and getting in the car and driving down there and figure out what their city and county issues are and try to resolve them staff to staff. I think it's just going to take an effort. And again, sometimes when there's two governments, it's going to take someone making the first move. I have no problem making an extension to any of the cities in the county and bringing the right staff people to solve the problems. Most of the times we can solve problems sitting in a room working towards a common solution. But Palm Beach County is a big county. There are about 37 cities in the county. Your land base, you're kind of more spread out, but I think 4 cities will be a little bit easier than 37 to work with. But I can do that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mason.
Can you talk about working with neighborhoods?
Sure. We've had probably over, I'd say, 70 neighborhood associations in West Palm Beach. And that being said, some of the gated communities in a plan unit development may have 4 or 5 different subdivisions, and those count sometimes as neighborhood associations. We work closely with the neighborhood associations on capital improvements such as streets and light projects. Again, sometimes when there is a controversial project, we have a Walmart that was proposed in the south end of the city that got the neighborhoods all excited, have neighborhood outreach and neighborhood programs that extended, again, to get their thoughts and inputs. We used to do a Saturday morning meeting where I would bring each department in, and the departments would do a couple hours of an explanation. We'd invite all the neighborhood associations. It was held in the police department, and they would kind of go through what that department does and then what they can do to serve a neighborhood and what they can do to serve a particular segment of the neighborhood. So I think as much as you can outreach to the neighborhoods, get their input, get their advice, and get their guidance, you can really get ahead of issues and get ahead of problems to solve the problems. Many of the neighborhood presidents in this day and age, it's an email. It might be at 10 o'clock at night or it might be at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I think in the days of electronic communication, you're accessible all the time, and we respond quickly and the best we can to neighborhood needs. But I think outreach is the best. Outreach and communication is the best way to stay in touch with the neighborhood associations.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thaxton.
I'm trying to think back about some of the things that Sarasota County, under its previous administrator, did locally to stimulate economic growth and the creation of local sustainable jobs. And I've had to give that presentation several times to community groups. And I was pretty comfortable talking for a half hour, 45 minutes without repeating myself on the various initiatives that this board and the previous administration did to make those jobs and economic development a reality as best that we could. So my question to you is kind of extending Commissioner Robinson's questions, where you responded about permitting, how many times someone has to touch it. And we've had that exercise here as well, and it's very revealing to understand sometimes that there's excessive numbers of people that needlessly need to touch the permit and create this time, which is money that costs the entrepreneur, if not totally discourage them from coming here.
So I'm going someplace else.
Exactly. So my question, though, is regards to other specifics that your administration and your board have been working on within the city that you administer now. Just give me some specifics about some of the things that you've done, some tangible things that you've done to improve the economic conditions and create jobs.
We took a blighted block in downtown West Palm Beach and moved our library there and moved our city hall there. And I've heard people say, well, government, it really doesn't count. What we did was, though, really made the library a place where people came and I heard lectures, had yoga, and put basically people that came to that block on the street. They went to restaurants, they went to shop. We had, before we had City Hall consolidated under one roof, they were dispersed around the city. There was an option there of moving City Hall different places, moving it further west, moving it further north. We bought that block with CRA money and built a first-class City Hall, which again, I think again has become an economic engine. Recently, the CRA purchased an old theater on Clematis Street, which is a central business district, for about $2.8 million and has leased it back to the theater company for about $60,000 a year, again, to bring theater back to, and it's one block off the waterfront, but again, to have shows and again, bring people to eat, drink, shop downtown West Palm Beach. Our Northwood CRA has done more commercial revitalization of the neighborhood and brought more of mom and pops. City Place was another big development. The county's about to permit in the future a hotel next to the convention center, which again I think will spur more economic development in West Palm Beach.
Mr. Robinson.
I'm going to talk about a difficult area that affected West Palm Beach in addition to us. We touched on it with my initial question, but I think we need to go into it a little bit deeper considering the relationship with West Palm Beach. First, let me ask, have you had the opportunity to visit our website and take a look at our transparency?
Yes, I've looked at your purchases as they go online.
Okay. Have you had a chance to look at the recommendations that were made at all to the county to fix our procurement?
No, I have not.
First, I guess it's a two-part question. One, this has affected West Palm Beach, and it's affected us. How can you assure the citizens of Sarasota County that this won't happen again, considering it's already happened once over there? And two, what do you think we could do to improve the system beyond what you've heard that we've already been doing?
I think, again, from my standpoint, training is important. I think if employees if there's even a rumor that there's a problem out there, it's time to go talk to the ethics officer, it's time to talk to the city or to the county attorney, to the county administrator. And our city, what came out of some of the ethics issues was an ethics officer position, which we run more things by and get more outside opinions on now than ever before. Ethics in government, and now especially with I think what's happening with procurement cards, what's happening with employee purchases and bidding processes, outside jobs. It's just one of those things that everything has to be scrutinized, everything has to be reviewed. I think things were taken for granted in the past at all levels and are now basically at the point where they have to be more sign-offs and more accountability. I think you have to hold the employees accountable from the lower level to the higher level. And employees should go to their supervisors or their department directors if something looks funny. And it's almost one of those old sayings, if you see something, say something. If there's something that looks out of line, the time to report it is not after the bid's been awarded or after the contract's been signed, but when you're going through the process. So I think you're going to have to train the employees more. I think the ethics officer needs to be vitally involved with any department. One-on-one training goes a long way, and you're amazed at the questions you get from employees when you go talk to them sometimes about things that have happened in the past and some things that are still going on. We practice it every day in West Palm Beach, and again, try to head things off at the pass when it comes to ethics issues, procurement cards, purchasing issues, things like that. Now, gifts also, employees taking gifts and receiving gifts.
Okay. You've touched on it, but I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about your own management style.
Okay. Open. I have an open style. My door's always open. I do meetings with the unions once a month, the first Friday of every month. Each union gets a half an hour. We come in and discuss pretty much everything. Sometimes we quell rumors. I update them on certain things going on in the city. They ask me about certain things in specific departments. I open my door all the time. I have a facilitative approach. I think if you're going to learn anything in the organization, it's got to be from the bottom up, not from the manager or administrator pushing it down, but the employees and the directors feeling comfortable to come in and tell you bad news. And I'd rather hear the bad news from the director than the bad news from the newspaper or the TV or anybody else. I'd rather get in front of the problem and try to solve it before someone calls me and tells me there is a problem. So having an open relationship with the employees and your business community, anybody, I think that's the best way to solve your problems, is having a pretty much an open door, a participatory process where people can sit in a room and tell you things without any retribution, not be afraid to tell you that you're wrong, not be afraid to tell you they have a problem with the decision you're making, or not be afraid to say, boy, I think we're going in the wrong direction. And sometimes that's a hard decision to have, and people don't feel comfortable coming forward with things like that because they feel retribution, or they feel, well, I'll be shut out next time, or won't be invited to the meeting. But I think that's the only way you're going to learn. If you put everybody in the room that thinks like you're not going to go very far very fast. If you have people that have different ideas and different approaches to problem solving, or different life experiences even, you're going to get different answers. I think that's the best way to be. And I'm always open to learning. I keep telling people I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Maybe I should say that I am the smartest guy in the room, but I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'd rather put people in the room that know more than I do, have more knowledge than I do, and really pick their brains. And I think sometimes I sit in the room, people say, you're really quiet, but I'm taking notes and I'm listening so I can get everybody's opinion. And sometimes the decision falls to me. I want to make sure that I've made the best decision and the right decision by having everyone's input.
Okay, thank you. We actually have time for additional questions, so starting at the other end, Commissioner Barbetta, do you have a follow-up?
I guess I can get into economic impact of sports tourism and things along those lines, how you approached it in Palm Beach.
We lost the spring training home in West Palm Beach, which was the Braves and the Expos at the time moved to Jupiter, Florida, which is not too far from West Palm Beach. The county built them a new stadium. We had hard negotiations. I think at some point in time there is a trade-off between economic development, especially sports economic development, and what a community can afford. It was a tough decision to make, and we were negotiating up to the final days that the Braves went to Disney, went to the Orlando facility. There's got to be, and again, in these hard economic times, there's got to be a balance. I think events or venues such as the rowing venue, where you're bringing basically people into the county, putting heads in beds to get things done, is the way to go. And some of the criticisms of the sports, especially the sports tourism, is how many days of the year is the facility used. A facility that can be used year-round, like the rowing facility, is ideal for a community.
Mr. Mason?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Saxon?
Yeah, I have one, and like Commissioner Robinson, it's a little bit less comfortable one, but I think it's I'm doing it in the spirit of fairness to give you an opportunity to respond, because we have received emails from folks in Sarasota County that have gone online and looked at some of the blogs and news stories, and there's one in particular that stands out as questionable, and that deals with the emergency radio system. They call it Open Sky. And it's, again, there was a lot of criticism about your decision and the police chief's decision on this, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity of telling your side of the story.
Open Sky radio system was a system the city decided to purchase into about 10 years ago with other communities. The police chief who was there when it was purchased has moved on to the sheriff's office. Our police chief, who recently retired about a month ago, was the liaison with the project, worked closely with the other communities, attended the meetings, was the city's representative on the project. There were some city staff members that disagreed with continuing with Open Sky. There was a report that was generated, and they came to me and said, we have some concerns about the Open Sky system. We've heard some criticisms in other cities that it didn't work, that it wasn't effective. I asked them to write a report. The report was written, I think it was about 60 or 70 pages of other cities' problems and other cities' issues with the Open Sky system. That report was a report that was controversial. It was not hidden. It was not buried. I think if you speak to the Mayor Jerry Moyo, she will tell you that. Kimberly Mitchell is a commissioner in West Palm Beach who visited Milwaukee, who has the Open Sky system. That system is up and running in Milwaukee. I think it remains to be seen whether it'll continue to be used in West Palm Beach. We're still doing some testing regarding the system.
Thank you.
Mr. Robinson.
Wanted to find out a little bit more what you talked about, and I think in one of the forums you talked about the West Palm Beach Convention Center and how that evolved and the effect that it's had on the economy in West Palm Beach. Can you elaborate a little further on that?
It's a county-run convention center, which the city, when it purchased the 77 acres for City Place, had that land set aside for a convention center. We had to compete with other cities in the county. Boca and other cities were interested in having the convention center. It's a natural extension to the City Place property. I think what basically happened with the hotel, when the economy started to sour after 9/11, there was no availability to get financing for a hotel. I understand the county is very close to signing a contract with Hilton for a 400-room hotel on that site, which again would feed the convention center and then again feed City Place. So it's again a major economic development in that area.
What was your role in that?
In the convention center, again, it was more of a county project than a city project.
Thanks.
I don't have any more questions. You know, frankly, it's hard to come up with all these questions that we really asked before of you in our one-on-one session, but we really appreciate you being here. If you'd like to take a couple of minutes to sum up, you're more than welcome.
Madam Chairman, can I just, for the sake of folks listening, I think many of the questions that we're asking of the candidates were asked in the one-on-one, and I think there's nothing wrong. In fact, it's only fair to us to ask them again so that the public can hear the response that we got, so they have the same information to judge the decision.
Well, does that mean you have more questions you want to ask? Because you may.
No, well, I only had one more, and it's kind of a different twist on Commissioner Robinson's questions. I know that the convention center was a part of the 77 acres, but I have personally visited the city center, which is a city function, a CRA, right, yeah, a City Place, excuse me. And I've heard, but this is again only secondhand, but I've heard that it's in some financial distress, and that there is going to be the need for some restructuring of some debt, and some of the coverage ratios aren't exactly what you would prefer. So I guess I would like to hear your comments as to whether or not you think it was a good idea in the first place, although I know it was already off the ground before you got there, and what your thoughts are on this, just on the entire enterprise, I guess.
I think it was actually completed before you got there, if I'm not mistaken.
No, because they were still building on it a couple years ago when I was over there.
But I remember visiting it when I was on the city commission, but maybe it was not completed.
It was completed in 99. Is that right? Yes, 99. So I was just city administrator when it was kind of the last about 12 months I was in charge, so to speak, of the day-to-day, making sure the permits were going out the door. We were coordinating it. So it's been a boom for West Palm Beach. Our Kravis Center's on the corner. It helped bring office buildings to downtown West Palm Beach. Again, Digital Domain, which is part of the FSU Film School, is going to come to West Palm Beach. I think what it's done is basically given us a center for shopping, a center for retail, a center for the arts, all in one place. So from, City's Place has been a big success. They're going to probably restructure some of their bonds. Again, I think to keep afloat, they've offered some great deals for rent to keep some of the retailers there. We've also had the Palm Beach Mall, which was one of the first malls in Palm Beach County, which was almost boarded. Come in a month or so ago, was bought by New England Development. That will be a retail mall right next door to I-95, which again is going to be another boom to the city of West Palm Beach, back on the tax base, and another big economic development project for the city of West Palm Beach. So I think we're still continuing to grow. I think the city of West Palm Beach is in good shape. I guess as closing remarks, Madam Chair, I think I have the skill set to lead the organization. Repair, I think the employee morale is a priority. Repair the relationship and restore the confidence with the business community and the community neighborhood groups. My financial management skills, I think, in cutback management, especially over the next 2 or 3 years in Sarasota, to keep dipping into the reserves is not a good business practice. In the future, you're going to have to make some tough choices regarding operations of the county and trying to secure, again, keep your bond ratings high and trying to secure your tax base. I think I can get things done. That's been my practice in the past. I put boots on the ground. I think the employees will find that I'm a friendly manager who goes out and meets and greets them and takes the time to listen to them. I'm a person, I think, who can be trusted and can do the job here in Sarasota. So I welcome the opportunity to, again, be your county administrator, and just really have been very, very satisfied with the process. It's been an open process. The community forums have been great. I've heard a lot of good things about the commission, a lot of good things about the community, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you for being interested in our community. It's our privilege to have you here, so
Thanks.
thank you. Okay.
What are we looking at, 10 minutes or 10 after, Madam Chairman?
Well,